welcome to day 23 of the 40-day Cultivating Real Life Homestead Challenge. And it's raining once again. It feels like it has been raining for weeks. It's really just been a few days, but it feels like it's been weeks. And that's normally not a problem, but it's kind of cutting down on our ability to get out and do some work in the garden. Melinda and I were talking, and we were really hoping to be able to start a few new seeds. We've got some things that are ready to move on to that next round. We just can't do it. It's pouring down rain. We can't do much with it. There is one bit of good news. Remember that 55-gallon rain barrel that I put in place because our 275-gallon rain water cube was already overflowing? Ooh, there's a little lightning. And some thunder. Well, the good news is that 55-gallon rain barrel is now completely full as well. So we've got 330 gallons of water just hanging out up there waiting in case we ever get a dry day again, which at this rate, that may not happen. But you know, all this rain this week has gotten me to thinking that there was a time just a few weeks ago where we also got a lot of rain. But the big difference was we got all of that rain in a 24-hour period. We got about 8 inches of rain. And anytime you get that much rain in one concentrated period of time, you're going to have some trouble. And we learned some really valuable lessons that day because we simply were not prepared. So I want to take you back a few weeks and show you some of the lessons that we learned on our homestead about why you've got to be prepared for even small disasters like getting 8 inches of rain in one day. So let's roll the clock back and let's look back a few weeks, show you around the property and also some of the lessons that we learned. It has been a crazy last 24 hours. Yesterday it started to rain, and it rained and it rained and it rained. And for the last 24 hours it has rained so much we've gotten a little more than 7 inches of rain. And I don't know what that's like where you live, but that's a ton of rain for us to get here. And while we're grateful for the rain and how it helps replenish the earth, we weren't prepared. And I want to show you a little bit of what I'm talking about today. We've been working hard to get our garden area ready. But with last night's rain and the rain all day today, we found a problem. And the problem is this. If you can see, there's standing water right over here. And what happens is this is downhill. So water obviously flows downhill, came right in here, hit this barrier, and then some of it got stuck and some of it actually washed around. As you can see over here, and we knew about this. This was a wash field previously, so we kind of had an idea about that. That's why we sited the garden just a little bit further away from it. But the water just kind of goes and collects right here in a little pond just past the chicken coop. So in some respects, we kind of knew what we were getting into in selecting this spot, but we weren't prepared for this much rain. And is this going to happen all the time? We've probably only had 3 or 4 rains like this in the 3 years that we've lived here, but it's still a problem. So it's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on, especially as we really get this garden rolling. This is one of our 2 chicken coops, and we've had this here for probably 2.5 years now, and it's worked out well. During that time, we have had some heavy rains. And one of the things that we found is that when we get those heavy rains, the water ponds up in part of this A-frame coop. Let me show you what we're talking about. So you can see right in here, and actually it was a lot worse last night, probably about 11 o'clock when I came to check on the chickens. But fortunately, they were all snug and dry right up in here in the main coop. So they were nice and secure last night. They were dry for the most part. I mean, this is a lot of rain. 7 inches in 24 hours is just a lot. So there was some water that obviously did get into the coop. That's why they're drying out today. But in general, they're doing all right. Over here, we've got our second coop, and this one, while the water kind of collects on top, the worst part about this is it too has a little bit of a downhill slope. So sometimes the water just kind of goes right underneath the door here and straight in. And as you can see, it's kind of damp in here today. It's already starting to dry out. The rain's only let up here in the last hour or so, but it's already doing pretty well. As the heaviest rain started to come down yesterday, I had a sneaky feeling that something was not going to be good about our seed setup. As you can see through here, the water comes right along, forms a nice little channel, and unfortunately makes a little turn right here and as of yesterday, when I came outside, this coop with the seeds in it was actually over probably about 10 yards or so, and it was sitting right in the middle of that channel. We just didn't pay attention, and we also didn't anticipate that much rain. We just weren't prepared. And when I came out here, I found the water starting to lap up along the sides of the trays because we just had them sitting on the ground. Clearly not our best move ever, but I was able to move them and get them on slightly higher ground. So they're actually, they were fine for the rest of the late afternoon, evening, and overnight hours, but not a good situation for us to have. One of the things that I did do in the rainstorm is I took this extra piece of metal roofing and I put right over top of it because we just didn't want it to get any more rain at all. So this actually gave it some protection from the additional rain that was falling, because what I found when I came out here is that some of the rain had fallen and had gotten into those little planter cups, and it actually kicked all of the soil out, and some of our seeds had already started to germinate. So we just had bare seeds that had already germinated, just laying there wide open. Again, not a good situation, but we're learning. It's not all bad news today. So one thing that we did do right was we had prepared this because we knew this too was a wash field. We could see that. We could see where the water had been cutting through the earth. So we already had in our plans to actually make this into a walkway, and that's why we put the wheat straw down. We've actually got some stepping stones in here as well. As you can see, the chickens have really had a great time with it, trying to scratch and dig around in it. But this area is preserved. The other thing that we did really well is we've planted our berry bushes on the high side of this channel. So that way we don't have to worry about water rushing through and knocking them out, flooding them out, or really harming their roots. Another thing that we've done really well is we keep our creek pretty much free and clear. Had a little challenge with this. We talked with the kids about you can't just leave stuff laying on the sides of the banks because in the event of heavy rains, it's going to get picked up and washed downstream. We really didn't have a lot of that this time, so the kids did a great job of keeping this clear and the water was able to flow. Now that's really important because, as you can see, the water continues on flowing here through the woods, and it's going to continue pushing on around behind the farm. And we've actually walked this land a lot. We've followed this creek. This pushes all the way back around, gets wider and wider, and ultimately this is going to wind up in the Neuse River. So if we didn't keep it clean, if we didn't keep it clear, a lot of the stuff will not only push out into the woods, and it will actually wind up, well, I don't think the toys and things would make it all the way to the river, but any of the pollution would make it all the way down to the river. So we've got a responsibility to take care of our land so that it doesn't mess up anything else downstream for anyone else. I just found out that the planter we had here in the middle of our strawberries was actually chock full of water. It had just been collecting water during the entire rainstorm. That's a real problem because, at least here in the South, I don't know what it's like it for other people, for us here in the South, we've got mosquitoes. Mosquitoes. They're everywhere in the summertime. So we've got to cut down on the amount of standing water that we have around because that's where they breed. So if we can eliminate those, we can at least cut down on some of the mosquitoes. Well, there you have it. So you saw all of the lessons that we learned. They were some tough ones, to be sure. I was really going to be upset if we almost lost all of those seeds that getting washed away in the floodwaters that were just pushing through that part of the backyard. And also, you know, it was really hard to know that we missed out on that opportunity to collect all of that rainwater. But as you can see, another opportunity came along. So it just shows that no matter whether you've got a small homestead, a large homestead, if you just have a small garden, opportunities are always abound. You just have to be ready to take advantage of them. So, well, thanks again for joining us for day 23 of the Cultivating Real Life Homestead Challenge. Thanks again for joining us. Like, comment, subscribe, share any of the things that you find interesting in here. Also, I'm going to include a link right up here, just so that way if you're interested in watching this entire 40-day challenge from the start, you can. So just click on that link and it'll take you right back to the start of the whole series, and you can watch this from the beginning. Thanks. We'll see you tomorrow for day 24. Hopefully it'll be a little bit drier, and we'll see you then.